Alright, so today I want to talk about motivation, and motivation is basically the drive to take action. And there's two types of motivation. There's internal and external motivation. And I'm going to start by talking about external motivation, and my definition for it is reward. And there's two types of external motivation. There's positive reinforcement, and that's addition of something good. So that's your typical reward. It could be money, it could be food, it could be compliments. It could just be a positive feeling after doing something, like eating something tasty. And you also have negative reinforcement, which is removal of a negative stimulus. And I also call that pain relief. As a physical therapist, that's the reason a lot of people come to physical therapy. They want that negative feeling of pain taken away. And a lot of people who want to lose weight, they also want that negative feeling taken away. It could be maybe when they look in the mirror, they want that feeling to be reduced, maybe removal of guilt or shame about something else in their life. But yeah, those are just a couple examples of negative reinforcement. And the three ways I like to increase external motivation are create a plan, increase accountability, and utilize deadlines. Creating a plan allows you to formulate actions that will allow you to achieve your goal. And it decreases outcome uncertainty, which increases your self-belief that you can actually achieve that goal. It also reduces your excuses for not showing up, because the plan allows you to know exactly what you need to do in order for you to achieve your goal. Now on to accountability, and this can be internal or external. Internal form of accountability is basically doing something because you said you would. You're a man or woman of your word. It's due to commitment, identity, and consequences. And internal accountability is more of just a natural result of an action, whereas external accountability is more artificially added. But it can be necessary for some people early on. And these external sources of accountability can come from people. So for people trying to get in shape, that would be like a personal trainer. Maybe it's an accountability buddy that goes to the gym with you. At work, that'd be your boss, for example. But it can also be rewards. That could be money, it could be food like we talked about before. Any sort of reward is also an external form of accountability. And then you also have punishments. So that could be getting a bad grade on a test. It could be getting yelled at by your boss or by your coach. It could be getting fired, or maybe you lose your fantasy football league and you have to do the IHOP challenge, but that's another external form of accountability. In my opinion though, I believe true accountability has ownership, visibility, consequences, and reflection. Ownership meaning you accept responsibility for your actions. Visibility meaning others can see the outcomes, not just your effort that you put into your goal pursuit. Consequences being naturally occurring actions or naturally occurring results of your actions, not artificial ones like punishments. And then reflection, just what happened, what can I change to do better next time. And the third way to increase external motivation is by utilizing deadlines. And a deadline is a time or date that something needs to get done by, and they create urgency. They just give you another reason to perform the actions required to meet your goal. But deadlines will fail to hold you accountable if only you know about it. Nothing changes if you miss it, meaning there's no consequences. If they're endlessly movable, and there's no cost except mild guilt. So the recipe for a good deadline would be having it be tied to something outside of yourself, have pre-committed consequences, and have it be hard to renegotiate without a cost. Now, internal and external motivation are both important for behavior change. In my opinion, though, internal motivation is more important for long-term behavior change, but external motivation is especially important early on when you're trying to change a behavior, especially if you're trying to adopt a healthy habit, for example, that isn't immediately rewarding. And when you're trying to adopt any healthy habit, early on in that behavior change process is where you're going to have the most resistance to change. And I call that the acquired taste phase. And I have this chart called the healthy habit enjoyment curve. And the longer you're performing an action, the more you tend to like it. The more repetitions you put in, the more competent you become, and the more familiar you become with that action. Something called the mere exposure effect, which states the more familiar you become with something or someone, through repeated exposure, the more you tend to like that person or thing. So basically, the longer you perform these healthy habits, the higher likelihood you have of actually enjoying it, which if you enjoy the action more, that's going to increase your internal motivation. And that's what's going to sustain you for long-term behavior change. So utilizing these three tools, creating a plan, increasing accountability, and utilizing deadlines, these are three ways you can increase your external motivation early on in that acquired taste phase of the behavior change process to increase your likelihood of long-term behavior change. Because the biggest problem in this acquired taste phase is that people don't enjoy doing the action or habit they're trying to change, and that increases their chances of quitting. So if we can combat the dislike and the reason someone may quit, you're just going to increase their likelihood of sustaining behavior change over time. And now on to internal motivation. And my definition is simple, it's just enjoyment. Internal motivation is fueled by enjoyment and personal values. These are internal factors that are causing you to act. Examples would be exercising because you like it, going to work because you like it, working hard because you value the goods and services you provide, working hard because you want to get better, you like the challenge. All of these are examples of internal motivation. And now it may seem difficult to increase your internal motivation based on what I just said. You may be asking yourself, how can I like doing something that I currently dislike doing? And that's what I want to get into next. And I believe there are 5 components of internal motivation, which means there are 5 levers you can pull to increase your internal motivation. And that's autonomy, competence, enjoyment, purpose, and belonging. Autonomy is just your sense of control. Competence is feeling like you're good at it, whatever the action is that you're performing. Enjoyment is just you have fun doing the action or you find it interesting. Purpose, meaning the action aligns with your identity or personal values. And belonging is feeling like you fit in. Feeling like maybe you fit in with the group or other people that are performing the action. Now that we've identified the components of internal motivation, let's use them to our advantage. So 1, to increase autonomy, you just have to find a way to perform the action that fits your preferences. And a bonus tip would be to reduce friction, because you want to make that action as easy to perform as possible because you likely prefer that. As humans, we just like doing things as efficiently as possible. To increase competence, it's as easy as repetition, repetition, repetition. The more reps you put in, the better you're going to get at whatever that action is. To increase enjoyment, I say gamify the action. That means maybe create some challenges for yourself, compete with others, have a leaderboard of some sort, track your progress over time. That allows you to compete with yourself, compare what you're currently doing to what you did in the past. And that can drive you to work even harder and increase your performance overall in whatever action you're trying to get better at. And to increase your purpose, I would say align your actions with your identity, or vice versa, whichever one you want to change first. I think it's a little bit easier to change your identity by saying, for example, I am someone who values my health. That is why I exercise. That is why I eat well. But your choice. Just align your actions with your identity, and that should increase your purpose. And lastly, to increase belonging, share experiences with a group, with a club. You want to have maybe a community of people that can support you and help you feel like you belong when you're trying to adopt a new habit or a new behavior. My simple definition for internal motivation is enjoyment, and increasing all 5 components we just discussed will increase your enjoyment of that action. I think employers worldwide can utilize these tactics to increase the internal motivation of their employees, to get them to work harder and to enjoy showing up to work every day. And if you're on a fitness journey, try applying these components to your diet and exercise plan and see if that helps sustain long-term behavior change. And if you're not sure how to do this, I plan on addressing this in a video at some point in the near future. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, leave them down in the comments section below. I appreciate you, and I hope you tune in to the next video I make.